Okay, here we go. Welcome to Shelter FootyCast, where WA's best footy show and WA's best beer combine to review all the best bits of round 3. Yes, that's right, Skeeter. Good to see you. BackChat Studios in here. How are you, mates? You going okay?
Very well, Scully. Busy weekend. Spent a bit of time with you on Friday night at the footy yesterday. You were judging the Glendenning Allen Medal. Derby was good for, I'm going to say a half.
Right.
But yeah, well, I mean, we're still looking for the complete Derby from go to woe, but the Dockers just had to get the win, and they did.
Yes, very good. You might need to pull your mic a tiny bit to me so we can actually talk to each other. Just come this way a little bit. We're in the main studio today, Skeeter. Shelter FootyCast is on the road into Melbourne, so we've lost one studio, but here we are. Great to be with you. Skeet Shelter FootyCast on socials. FootyCast at backchatstudios.com.au is our email if you'd like to get in touch, and you can get 10% off beers right now at shelterbrewing.com.au if you go and get some stuff going. Now, Skeet, let's get straight into it. I've got some relatively hot takes for you.
Angry pills you're taking.
Why? I was angry Friday.
You were angry Friday?
I was angry Friday because a lot of people basically just not minding their own business. Basically, bigger entities than me just getting fucking carried away with anything else but their own business. But it is Monday, Skate, and I like to move on nice and quickly. So I got some actual.
But you're still angry about a couple of issues from the weekend.
Oh yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah. I mean, one of which is the Indian Premier League that has decided to put an IP block on our Instagram on BackChat for 3 days. That sort of kicked it all off, got me right in a good mood. The IPL, the Indian Premier League. An MS Dhoni reel from 3 months ago has copped us with a 3-day ban on Instagram, Skate. None of that makes sense to you.
No, I've got no idea at all. I've got a rough idea. You're not happy about it.
No, I'm not happy about it. But there was a few things. I think, off the top from the Derby, did you see the bird flip in the 9-minute mark? Oh, we'll get into the game. We'll break it down.
I was calling the game. I heard the noise. I referred to it on Seven's call without specifically saying what it was. I basically suggested there's some crowd interaction. It stems from social media, and we moved on. We weren't told not to do anything. We weren't told to do anything, but it would just sort of slid in and slid out.
Well, it was pretty much the same on Fox, which I found. Look, I was on the boundary. There would have been 15,000 people flipping the bird right on 9-minute mark. Like, I got some footage from down the boundary. It was hilarious. And people were loving it and had a good laugh and moved on, pretty much like you, moved on, but didn't feel like any TV cameras copped it. So that was interesting.
Is it? I know you're going to not like this, but is there any sense of, well, what is it? What purpose does it serve?
Well, it was because it's a public interest. This is from the media, mate. This is public interest. If there's 15,000 people flipping the bird at Optus Stadium, not promoting flipping the bird, but supporting Harley Reid, I think West Coast fans want to show their support. Hey, it might not be a traditional give him a clap at the 9-minute mark, but it was a definite groundswell of support shown by West Coast fans. Not captured on TV. It's just bizarre.
I still don't understand why I don't quite get it.
Because it's funny.
Who are they protesting against?
Not protesting against anyone. I wasn't protesting it. It was.
I think it was actually just pile of poop. I
think there's a lot of people
no one cares
running things. Yeah, correct.
No one actually cares about it.
Well, 15,000 people were up to it. So someone cares.
Oh, it's a lot.
You're going to wind me right up today.
It's a lot of crap. It was a load of crap. No one cares about it. That's why it's not on the front page. It's not on the back page. Nowhere.
I'll tell you what, mate.
It's a finger. Move on. No one, Carly doesn't care.
Oh, it didn't make the paper. It mustn't be a big deal.
Well, didn't make Fox.
The West Australian, seriously. If it doesn't get in there, then it's not a big deal.
So Fox, why didn't Fox run it?
Yeah, I don't know. That's my actual question, mate. That's what I'm asking. It's literally what I'm asking. You get a bit like, it's not about 7. This is about broadcast.
I'm saying the game was on. It was actually, the game was in motion when this was happening. So yeah. I think the game was probably more important.
10-second cutaway probably would have been pretty good. Ryan Mansell handed a 3-week suspension for his push on Liam O'Connell. Unlike Jinby, Mansell had no eyes on the ball. Riley tells me in the production notes. Please don't write that shit, Riley. Ryan Mansell getting 3 weeks for this action is an absolute disgrace. I said it for when Jinby and Lawler were going at it. This action happens 100 times a game. Players have been doing this for 50 years. It's a small forward at the front of a contest. trying to get space. He pushes his defender to get space at the contest. He doesn't have eyes on the ball because he's trying to get to the right position. Now, Ryan Mansell has all eyes for the ball, doesn't he? Sorry. Liam O'Connell has all eyes for the footy. Like, he courageous, hard, like, you know, and feel terrible that he gets injured. But he was going for that ball whether he was pushed or not. This action is unsuspendable, yet because of the outcome, right, we get a 3-week suspension. And it's come out of nowhere. I couldn't be stronger against this. How do you feel?
Look, I think this will continue. I think the AFL, is there a rule in play? Is it careless conduct? Is it a duty of care? I'm not sure where this will fall under. And I suspect this will go not just from the MRO to the tribunal with an appeal of some sort. The AFL is clearly, and I think the confusion lays, if they'd said after the Jimby case and suspended him, that we don't want this in the game. For whatever, rightly or wrongly. That didn't happen. And obviously it was a fractured jaw, I think it was, with Sam Lawler. There's another case after that, wasn't there, that came up. And now this is the three-matcher that's...
Well, Jackson Archer was a completely different action, but
yeah,
that was out.
Yeah, no, let's forget the Archer one. These are the two sort of similar, the pushing the player into a position of danger.
So if you're a player, what can't you do?
Well, don't
hurt another player.
No, don't push a player into an area where they are vulnerable.
But mate, I showed you an example the week after with Jimby. Opposition backman held out his man, and they missed each other by a millimetre. So
holding out his man is, I think...
No. It was the exact same. Pushed someone, and instead of hitting, they missed. No outcome, and everyone said, "Oh, great defence." It is improbable, also impossible, to do what you just said. Don't put another player in a vulnerable position.
If you're pushing the player into an area where they are, in this case, I'm telling you, he'll get a suspension. There's no question in my mind he'll get suspended.
So what are you meant to do as a player, though, mate? That's fine if you want to suspend it, but I'm telling you, you can't weigh that up. It's not possible. Is
it careless?
It's just flip of the coin.
Is it careless conduct? What Mansell did in any way, shape, or form?
No, absolutely not. He's put himself in the right spot, and
why did he have to push the player into that position?
Because he's got contact to start with. You can't just stand there and hope for the best. This is a contact sport. This is elite level. Liam O'Connell knew what was going on as well. He was going back with the flight. He was going to run and jump at that regardless. And so he's got a little nudge and it's put him in a vulnerable position. But that's not careless. That's just what's happened. And then the outcome, because he's been knocked out, has given him the 3 weeks. If you're a player, if you're Ryan Mansell or anyone else, you're a small forward, you're a small defender, you're a key defender, no clarity, no idea what you're meant to do. And that's a vulnerable position to be in as a player, not knowing what you can do in a contest. That's vulnerable.
Well, they'll know that after this week because he's going to get suspended. He's gone.
Right, so now you can't do that. But you could do it 3 weeks ago.
Well, that's where there's confusion.
What an absolute joke.
Jinby probably should have been suspended.
What an absolute joke of a system. And that's this week. I can't wait to next week for the next one. It is embarrassing. If we continue on embarrassing things for the AFL, late outs, right? And this isn't the AFL, but it's a system they've set out. So the Cats, Tom Stewart, he's pulled out for no apparent reason. Oscar McInerney with the Lions, we saw that. Jack Steele in the warm-up, he's injured himself late. Jager O'Meara, Corey Wagner yesterday in the Derby, they're gone without any warning whatsoever. Not only are clubs taking the piss with this, right? They're trying to gain an advantage due to injury, which I've always laughed at. It's the same as closed training sessions. It's the same as selecting players on Thursday and putting Will Schofield in the middle as a ruck rover.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, the laid outs are just as much. There needs to be a better system in which fans, in which there's a significant market of bettors, there's a significant community of fantasy players, there's a significant community of media, and the opposition teams need to have a better idea of what's going on with the opposition.
So you're upset with the outs being good. When do you think that deadline should be?
I think the deadline is fine because there's going to be situations. Jack Steele's going to injure himself. Tom Stewart isn't going to play, right? And so the deadline, fine. We need to have better scope during the week. The NFL is the best way of doing it, right? During the week, on their first main training session, they must say, did they practice? Are they questionable? Are they probable?
Inactive.
Are they playing? Correct. But they have to say what they did at training. Because right now, until 90 minutes before the game, we don't know, fans don't know, all those communities that I just listed, but more importantly, the opposition have no idea if Geelong's best player, Tom Stewart, is playing. Right up until 90 minutes before the game.
Do you honestly believe they had no idea he wasn't playing? I will defy that. I will say they would have known. Their spies are a lot better than you think. That they would have known that he wasn't playing.
So why
100%.
So why don't you just open it up to the rest of us and make it easier for everyone? So what's the problem with my suggestion?
And
what? Why is it?
Go back to yesterday and what happened with the Dockers. So I'm not sure what advantage they've got out of taking O'Meara out of the side and Wagner.
Let's say it's Brayshaw
Warner and Aish.
Just say it's Brayshaw and Sarong. Just hypothetically, Brayshaw and Sarong are late outs because one's sick and one's injured and we didn't know about it.
Yeah, so if one's sick, quite often that happens on the morning of the match.
Yeah, do you understand? I'm saying the 90 minute.
So you're saying during the week though, how does
we need more clarity and openness from clubs.
Well, you're not going to get
what's
that.
happening.
You're never going to get that.
Why not?
Because you don't. You don't get it.
I know we don't. That's my
never
point,
gonna get
mate. I know we don't get it.
Until they're forced to. Of course they're not. And
that's what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting a rule comes in to give us more clarity of what's going on. So you're saying we're never going to get it. I'm asking for it.
So to get the midweek report, the medical report on Tom Stewart.
That's correct. Yep. Anything to say? Perfect. Okay, that's correct. Thank you very much. Why is the roof closed at every game at Marvel? Riley wants to know. I don't know. The only Brownlow vote I ever got, the roof was open at Marvel and it was raining against Carlton. It was raining at the Dome.
I called a couple of games. Was it Marvel on Thursday and Friday? I think it was. The skill level, now, was pretty average both days, but particularly Thursday, and because I wasn't there, and people on social media and in the media have been saying that the roof close made it a very humid environment and the ball supposedly was pretty slippery. They're saying that was a reason for the lack of skills. I don't know if you've played under the roof there whether it makes a difference, but it's pretty hot and humid in Melbourne. And the argument is, if there's clearly no rain, why not let Mother Nature at least have a look inside?
So would opening the roof get rid of humidity? Like you and I aren't the weathermen.
No, we're not even close.
You were Thursday. You were giving me weather updates. But what happens to humidity? Does it just go with the roof's open? Because I reckon the Gabba's pretty humid.
But they did say that it was, and again, we weren't there, but they said on Thursday, for instance, it was hot, it was muggy, and the roof closed, even for fans, but players as well. But why they have to have this, basically it's a open and shut case when it comes to the AFL, pardon the pun, with regards to the roof. In matches that they will have the roof closed. In matches carte blanche, through night games, I think it is. Which in this case it was. Day games, I think it's more so about the light at Marvel, where the sun has always been a factor, hasn't it? At Marvel, you'd have played in day games here with the roofs open.
I think, mate,
going back 100 years.
I don't know what time it is over East, let alone the sun, but you could just make the same argument about any open roof stadium. I think the reason it's closed is because it has a roof. And so if you've got a roof...
But if it's like Adelaide today in Perth, 34 degrees, why would you put the roof on?
No, you're right.
Look, it doesn't affect us because we don't have a roof. And Tasmania might not have a roof either.
And does that mean they don't have a team? Isn't that what they're saying?
That's bull dust. So you're going to go all this way and then say, no, sorry. Sorry, boys. Sorry, Nick, Jack Revolt and co. No, you're not going to have a team because you haven't got a roof on your stadium.
Last clip of the AFL for you, Skeeter.
Jeez, you've had a fair go.
Yeah, and on this one, I don't know how strongly I feel about this one, but I do think it is something we need to just get on the agenda very early. Watching Gold Coast against Melbourne and seeing Gold Coast here. Gold Coast here against West Coast, very impressive, but we didn't know. Yeah,
we also don't know yet. Their opposition has been the West Coast Eagles and Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm going there. Melbourne.
Yeah.
You'd think Melbourne on the MCG with Gold Coast not being able to win away from home ever, right? You'd think that an absolute pulling apart of that midfield for starters and the rest of their side. Like they should have won by 15 goals.
Plenty, yeah.
Right? Gold Coast game at the end of the year against Essendon is shaping very early to be a complete debacle. And let me tell you why, Skeeter. Let's say that Gold Coast form has them as a top four side. I know I'm not saying that, but just say it happens.
Yeah.
End of round 23, their first game against Essendon, that they win, right? And they go into the top four and they can't move. The game 5 days later against Essendon is going to have a VFL side from Gold Coast running around against Essendon, who may or may not be fighting for final spots. That last game, I think Gold Coast will be in a position that they don't need to do anything about, and will be playing some of their coaches. I don't know who's coaching there. Dimmer Hardwick could be running out of full forward. You could have some of the other boys running around. They will not give a flying toss bag about the game in round 24, the Suns. Can you see that happening?
I think you're right. You summed it up at the start. It's very early to be talking about that, but in a long-term projection, possibly the AFL. Now, put yourself in the AFL shoes here. What do they want? They want the Gold Coast Suns playing finals. That's a given.
Yep.
Do they want them in that position? Obviously not. Essendon, I don't think, will be playing finals. I don't think they're good enough. So, yeah, I mean, there's a bit of water to go under the bridge. But I do get your point. Of those groupings, I'll give you a recommendation on that one as being potentially. But Scully, that's in August.
You think that I'm the most right about that? So you think
I just
Ryan Mance, laid outs.
Laid outs is, I think, one that, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, you're talking about punters and fantasy teams, all that sort of stuff.
No, I'm talking about opposition teams first.
They
and
know.
foremost.
They know. I'm not being a smart. I genuinely believe opposition teams have a pretty good bead on who's playing. Admittedly, yesterday, I'm not sure Andrew McQualter would have known about obviously O'Meara if he's sick. I think.
So you're saying like that didn't make a big impact, but Jago O'Meara was their best midfielder the week before.
Yes, that's true.
So he had 32 touches.
My point is, going back to, say, Chris Fagan up in Brisbane, I think they would have probably known that Tom Stewart wasn't going to play on Saturday night. That's just my gut feeling. I think you'd agree that the intel they've got is pretty good.
I've played at least a handful of games where I've prepped all week to play as a backman on the best forward.
Mm-hmm.
And at the 90-minute mark, backline coach or head coach comes
He's out.
going, let's say Tom Stewart's out, Scully. And in that situation, you're like, fucking awesome.
You beauty.
How bloody good Lance Franklin's not playing. But I can tell you now that there's been lots of situations where I've had
blindsided.
I've wasted me a week prepping for the best player, and then they're not playing. And so, in that example, it doesn't disadvantage the side, but I just don't. Mate, Geelong's a chronic offender of this, mate.
They've always got a late change up their sleeve.
They've been doing it for a long time. Chris Scott sits there in the press conference and basically laughs at the media for asking the questions. Hey, tell us what happened with Tom Stewart. He goes, I can't tell you what happened. It's like he's basically sitting there going, look, I don't really give a shit about anyone else but ourselves. Which, okay, in his situation, fair enough.
You reckon this is new? I remember going back, this is probably 25, 30 years ago, might be longer than that. Mitchell White collides with Ashley McIntosh at training. We all had to leave and go back, and I had to do stuff for 9 News, and everyone was doing their stuff. Had to find out what the cause was. After the match, or after the next day, I think Michael Malthouse was asked the question about the collision and what the injury was and whether one of them might not play. And I think he was asked about Ash McIntosh, did his ribs okay? And Mick goes, I can tell you right now, it was not broken ribs. What was it? It was broken ribs. I mean, the coaches have been deflecting, have been denying, have been absolutely far from generous with the truth for a long time, Scott. So Chris Scott's just a reincarnation of all those coaches from the 70s, 80s, 90s and whatever you like.
I know this, and I'm asking for I've got a solution for it, and we just get more openness and clarity. I think I fixed it.
But they still might name Tom Stewart on a Thursday, irrespective.
They might name him, but you know that he didn't train main training session. You know that he was a partial trainer on. Well,
then you can't have a closed training session, really, can you?
Yeah, which you shouldn't. They
do.
I know they should.
That's definitely not changing.
I know all these things that they do, Skeet.
But you want all open training sessions?
Yes.
Do the NFL have all open training sessions?
I don't know. It's just, but I'm
just saying. I just can't see. I reckon your goal is admirable. I just think there's so many obstacles to get clubs to agree to this transparency, which just ain't happening.
All right, no Sting music today because we're in the new studio, but Shelter Brewing Co., the beer that Skeeter can't get enough of.
Can't get any at the moment. I've got nothing in the fridge. So, pinch it all.
Update. Jaden, who isn't in yet, so Tom and the boys from Shelter were up here at the live show, which you didn't attend.
Well, I had another engagement. I was actually calling footy till 9 o'clock, as you would well know.
It was a great night, by the way. All those that came down, thank you. We had a ripping night. It was very good. But Tom tells me, before he came to the event, came here in the morning, dropped off beer for you before the show. Jaden has not communicated to you. So I believe waiting for you at the front door is a couple of cartons of shelter.
Oh, Tommy, you're terrific. I love you. Thank you so much. No, the only reason I haven't got any is because my daughter's boyfriend, Sam, just thought I'll just knock off the shelters while my girlfriend's dad's just working away. So Sam from Manangatang, nick off. He did. He texted 6PR the other day as well.
Geez, you were pissed off. Listen here, Sam. Listen here. Don't touch the liquor cabinet.
We actually had some fun on Friday night. You and I on radio and,
Oh, it was brilliant.
Adam Papalia.
It was basically the Shelter FootyCast calling game.
It was Friday night because we didn't really think there was much hanging. After 8 o'clock, it's sort of like the audience numbers wouldn't have been.
That was the first time we've pretty much had to throw to an ad break because we were laughing so much. You were trying to stitch me up with the Derby teams, you dickhead.
I was
Remember?
Yeah. No, we had the quiz, the Derby teams.
You beat me at a quiz.
Oh, it was great. That was great because I love that because you're straight. And one of the questions on the quiz related to Will Schofield's goal kicking exploits against Carlton. And he couldn't quite remember. It was the last question of the night, I think. And he couldn't remember how many goals he'd kicked.
I'd had enough of the studio. I'd had enough of you. And I'd had enough from that.
Brilliant. And then you're leading all night and then you got rolled.
Fremantle defeat West Coast by 38 points at Optus Stadium. I think I was around that mark for the margin. Thank you very much. Caleb Sarong wins his fourth Glendale Allen medal at just 24 years old. That's right. Sarong, 7 votes. Brayshaw, 6 votes. Tracy, 3. Jackson, 2. Now, Skate, this isn't going where you think it is. But Lee Spur did not give Brayshaw any votes. I'm calling Spurrier out. He's a mate of mine. Mate. Me and Chris Robinson gave him 3 each. So we had him best on, and Spurrier couldn't squeeze him in for a vote. So, mate, so I walk off the ground. I run into Andy's brother, Hamish, and say, go and speak to Lee Spurrier about look, it was actually a really hard vote to give.
It was only one team, so that takes care of that.
Yeah, but sort of, just for a bit of insight how it happens, the commission or whoever's running it, I suppose, we've got to run around and get all the votes from 3 people who are at different spots. Like I'm on the boundary,
it's my daughter,
radio. Yeah, I was just trying to.
That's
know
fine.
what it was.
I'm being honest.
And Chris is in the news area, so it's so you kind of. It's not. You don't give your votes at the 10-second to go mark.
When did you have to hand in your paperwork?
I was the last because I was on the boundaries for about 3 minutes to go. I wanted more time.
Why?
Because I was thinking about it and I didn't want to fuck anything up. I went into that game nervous. I
agree. I can understand it.
I took it like
personally.
I wanted to do a really good job and I wanted to get it right. Honestly, that's why I wanted to think about it. And I was working at the time, so
yeah. I totally understand wanting to have every possible minute because if you're tossing up between whether it's Sarong, Brayshaw, Jackson, whoever it was, for your 3 or 2, it does have a significant difference. So I totally understand. I've had, I'll be totally honest with you, Paul Hazelby's not been back from doing it. Maybe because of that. He didn't want that responsibility.
He's a winner as well.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and yeah, that's probably a reason. But yeah, I totally respect those people that have taken on that task. And
can I give you some insight on why? Because I probably won't get to do this anywhere. But so Brayshaw early in the game had 2 rundown tackle holding the balls. He had the leading score involvements on the ground. And by I just thought early when the game was going, yes, Caleb had the most touches and just in front on clearances, I believe. But I just thought Brayshaw's game was more impactful when it counted a little bit. That's kind of why I gave Brayshaw 3, Sarong 2, and Jackson got better and better and better as a game.
He's very good. I think the one element you spoke about there, and correct me if I'm wrong, what was the score involvement for Andy Brayshaw? Was it 11?
11-4 for Sarong.
So that, to me, is a critical stat because I think you're right when you're talking about racking up numbers and what did Caleb finish with, 30 what?
Yeah, he had most clearances on the ground, so he had 10 and Brayshaw had 6.
Yeah, so therefore, on that basis, but I think score involvement is it's
big.
It's a significant element if you're voting and in probably Brownlow medal votes, which... So on that basis, umpires wouldn't have seen. They would have had any idea that there's 11.
The reason I had stats because I'm working,
so
I'm seeing this stuff right. Jackson was by far the highest ranked player on the ground. So champion data stats that put it all together. He was on about 145 by the end of the game.
So if someone had given him 3 votes, would you have been shocked?
Nah, mate. Like I said, I was almost going Jackson 3. Like I
did say on radio, I want to check TV with 7. I said, if Jackson kicks a goal or
I was half hoping he didn't, because if he had a kicked one, I was like, oh no,
where do I go here?
Yeah. So look, I thought his game was really good. But also you can look at it different ways. Even though Chris and I didn't, and
Spurby, he's a very smart man, but he was just that's the way he rolls.
So there you go. That was my 3 best players on the ground: Brayshaw, Sarong, Jackson. I thought Amos got better as the game on, but the game was dead. Josh Tracy's 3 goals in the second quarter was big for Freo. Although, around the ground he impacted, but he probably was if I could give 4 votes, he'd be my 0.5, my 4th best player.
Yeah, just quickly on the Amos thing as well. I mean, Harry Edwards being subbed off, I thought was curious, to say the least, just because, Oscar Allen had 1 touch up to 3/4 time, so in the end, and McGovern's injury meant they had to shift their whole line of defence, essentially. So
he has to be injured.
Edwards? It seems really strange.
Because it's not like Freo are running a small forward line.
No, and they leave themselves vulnerable, because Amos then, I found it really unusual that he was the sub.
Because they had 4 tall forwards as well. They had Williams, Archer Reed, Bailey Williams. Who am I missing? Oscar Allen.
Oscar, who couldn't get a piece of it.
I would just be very surprised if that was tactical, because let's be honest, the biggest, I think one of the biggest weaknesses at West Coast list, due to Tom Barras leaving, is their key position stocks. And we're going to find out very bloody quickly how bad that is, because Jeremy McGovern's done his groin. I think Harry Edwards is injured, because you just can't possibly be subbing him off. Like, why would
I don't get
it.
But he was subbed off before McGovern went down.
Yeah, but why would you take him off if he's going to have to be your guy, Harry Edwards. He has to be West Coast guy, because other than that, they've got Sandy Brock, who they added in the SSP period, Rhett Bazzo, who I don't know if he's playing or not, and then Ruben Jimby.
Ruben Jimmy's your tall defender.
He's trying his guts out, but he's not your key position centre half back. So I'm not. Oh yeah, they got big issues there. But let's talk about Freo. Pat Voss, 12th man style, putting a finger through Josh Tracy's eye in the first 2 minutes, almost knocked him out. That would have been interesting if you had taken him down. I thought their forward line worked better. They had almost 20 marks inside 50 Freo for the derby. So, that says a couple of things. West Coast defence poor, but Freo's forward line better, which
no surprise.
Yeah, but you have to. And their senior players stood up. Brayshaw, Sarong, best players on the ground.
Absolutely. I thought the Eagles, I thought the effort was there. I genuinely do. And look, I looked at the turnovers. There's 65, 63. Fremantle more turnovers. But I genuinely thought the Eagles butchered the footy. Time and time again, whether it's missed handballs, missed kicking efficiency was poor. They made too many unforced errors, I think, and whether that was not necessarily Fremantle's pressure, but I think we saw a bit more of what the Dockers should be delivering week in and week out, and I think it was a fairly predictable victory in the end.
Yeah, it was. A couple of moments. Isaiah Dudley kicking 2 goals in the first quarter was unreal, I thought. He's a little pocket rocket. He's tiny. He's 168 centimetres.
Smallest player in the AFL, as it turns out.
They came out right next to us, running onto the ground, and he was running next to Jai Amos, who has put on several kilos. It was a man, and not a mouse, but he's...
Don't mention mouse.
No. He was tiny, but the thing with small players is you have to be so smart and skillful to play AFL at that size. So I thought he showed a couple of good things, which is good for Freo.
Yeah, of course. Uncle is Eddie Betts and cousin Cosy Pickett.
Yeah, a little bit of heritage.
I reckon he was wearing some of the Eddie Betts shorts. He's got the big shorts, had all the family there. No, it was terrific to see him. And what it does do eventually, and maybe in the short term, it means that Michael Walters has to work a bit harder to get back the spot, because he does look. He just looks like a player that every time he gets it, something is going to happen. So he's the future for Fremantle. It was I won't say inspired choice, but it was a very good choice by Fremantle to get him into that lineup.
Harley Reid ended up at centre-half back. He took a hanger in the third quarter, but probably a talking point because of the coverage it got was the late niggle with Caleb Sarong. How did you see that?
Yeah, I saw on social media someone suggested that Caleb flopped. I don't know if
I did.
I don't know if he flopped fully.
He flopped, but he also he had someone in his face pushing him over. It wasn't like
it
wasn't like he wasn't pulled.
Didn't faint it. He did get pushed.
He was trying to get a free kick. But
absolutely, but he went down. But Harley again. But forget all the semantics of all that stuff. How do you think he played?
Not very good.
No, what's missing in his game at the moment?
Fitness.
You think it's fitness?
He's not fit enough. But
does that come off a disrupted pre-season?
Yeah,
you think?
Yeah, as well as what I've been banging on about for the first 3 weeks. He doesn't. I don't think he understands what it takes to train, perform consistently at AFL level. And I'm not going to hang and quarter him because of it, because he's a young player, and just because he's a number one draft pick doesn't necessarily mean that he understands those things. But I think fitness gets you from contest to contest, and that's what the best guys do, and he's not there yet.
So was he fitter last year than this year?
I reckon he might have been, yeah. And maybe he's put muscle on. Maybe it's second year sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think that you just put the second year stuff. I know it's the old school, the second year blues. I'm not saying that's the case, but whether players, clubs know his strengths and weaknesses a bit more, either exploiting that or putting him under pressure. And let's be honest as well, he's playing in a pretty average side.
Absolutely. So Freo, yeah, Luke Jackson looks great. I mean, yeah, it's going to pretty quickly come to a head. Sean Darcy's going to come back through the waffle next week, I believe.
Now, you did point out that there could be a fairly handy centre square formation for Peel in round one.
Mate, I think my sources tell me, Sean Darcy, we had him the live show on Thursday. I asked him on stage. He said, look, who knows what's going to happen this week? And we won't know because they're not going to declare their injuries, are they, Skeeter? So who knows what's going to happen?
No, we'll find out 60 minutes before.
We'll find out at Peel or Claremont. So it could be, just giving the players out, Sean Darcy in the ruck, Hayden Young, Nat Fyfe, and Will Brodie. That's the midfield. If you're Claremont rocking up, round one.
Give me a spell.
Yeah, so, but that's going to become a discussion soon. But I just thought, said off the top, the senior players stood up. Their forward line looked better. Their back line did a number on West Coast forward line.
No surprise. I mean, that to me was a given. Oscar Allen, no Waterman. It was always going to be a bridge too far. I think Fremantle's forward line. Look, they should have won by more. Let's be honest. They should have made this a 10-goal win. But at the end of the day, they get themselves a victory. They feel better about themselves. They got the Bulldogs this week. They're far from the complete package. I'm trying to think of injury-wise. Alex Pearce came back on, so you'd have to think he's like, I thought he was gone for the day. To be told, I saw the incident. I thought, this doesn't look good.
Came running past me on the bench. I said, he's actually looking really good. I said, what have you done? And he goes, I don't know, jarred my knee. I said, mate, you look better running now than you did at the start of the game. He goes, I know, I feel really good. He's doing side to side. So, and then he came back on the ground. Jeremy McGovern groin. I just got to believe Harry Edwards is injured. I just can't believe he would have been subbed off. Ryan Marrick is a tiny positive for West Coast. I thought, heard Liam Duggan speak to you guys on 6PR. Best kick in the team, Liam said about Ryan Marrick. And he looks really good. He had 27, 28 touches off the back flank. I think you need someone like that in your back line. And if Liam Baker's not going to be that guy, I think they need to keep him in the midfield. Then Ryan Marrick should play all year. And Tyrell Dewar is very good. Just play him all year on the wing and just get him going. All right, Skate, we're going to move on. Essendon defeat Port Adelaide by 12 Thursday night. Absolute pooperama this game.
A stinker.
It was a stinker. We had a live show at the Leaderville Hotel. Thank you again for all those who came down there. We were doing a live show in there and it didn't distract anyone. It was sort of back and forth. The only thing about it was close. Essendon, it ends up being a good win from Essendon, though. They beat Port Adelaide, who won 11 of the last 12 at Marvel. So to get that done off the back of, as described by Zach Merritt, as the worst loss in the club's history for his 11 or 12 years at the football club, you got to look at the positives. I mean, it's a good win from Essendon.
It is a good win, and it was a response that they needed to have. Look, their numbers around the footy have always been good for most of this. I mean, even when against Adelaide, forget that game, but against Hawthorne, the numbers were okay. Again, to be honest with you, they should have kicked 9 goals, 18. So they I thought, were the more dominant side. Merritt, as you say, gets a lot of the footy. Caddy in attack did his bit. So too Draper. They've got some. Look, I still think they're a fair way. I think Reid going back and shutting down Georgiades was important.
Yeah.
He started well, Georgiades.
Two goals from 5 shots, so inaccurate.
Yeah.
Do either of these sides final sides?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think Essendon, despite that win, and Port Adelaide. Bear in mind,
they pump.
They pump Richmond. So they put it all in perspective. They pump Richmond.
Got done by Collingwood.
Some of and I was looking at the stats at half time, and Horn Francis, Rosie.
Horn Francis, talking about players that he looks similar to Hartley, I reckon, unfit, not quite to the level that I think people expected him to go to. But again, he may not quite understand it either, so I'm not going to rip shreds off him. But he's not jumping up as a superstar right at this moment, is he?
They looked seriously like they'd just played up in North Queensland. They looked heavy-legged, if that's a term. They didn't get across the ground all that well. No, I thought it was a really poor performance by Port, and their leaders just didn't stand up. So, in brief, I'm not going to waste too much time in this game because I don't think either side is overly well equipped to play finals. Might be wrong, but yeah, from what we saw Thursday, both sides are fair way off it. But well done to Essendon, and Bomber supporters should be well pleased with getting a result, and hopefully good things can come from that.
It was the only game of the weekend I got wrong, Skeeter.
Me too, I think.
I picked the upset.
What was the upset? How could you get the upset when
Hawthorne was favourite? Was Suns favourite?
Sure? Yeah, Suns were favourite. I reckon you might have...
Bulldogs favourite.
You had an upset there, so I don't reckon you got them all right. But anyway.
Anyway. There we go.
Move on. We'll find out. $10 to each person that beats Scully.
I'll have a look. I've got to announce who won the tipping for us, and I'll get that while you're talking about this game, Skeeter.
Yes.
Essendon defeat Port Adelaide.
Oh, it's round 3. Scully has full-blown dementia.
Look how happy you are. You are. What's that make you so happy?
That's one of the funniest things that's happened. We've done a full 5-minute review, and he goes, righto, Skeeter, while you talk about this game, Essendon versus Port Adelaide. What have you been doing in the last 7 minutes?
I just need it spelled out in front of me. I'm chasing things around while I'm hosting the show.
You're like me. You're trying to juggle 6 jobs.
Oh, far out.
3 different tax invoices.
Just wrap me up. Seriously, just wrap me up.
You want to go to the Friday night game?
Western Bulldogs defeat Carlton by 8 points. Speak about it.
You and I did this game for radio, so we've got a reasonable beat on what happened here. And Carlton, very good early. As they have been for their first halves have been exceptional in many ways. But this was a case where they just didn't put the Bulldogs to the sword. They led by 4 goals. Every time I see Tom de Koning, I regard him more highly than the week before. He's a very good player. Paddy Cripps tries his heart out. Look, Brody Kemp kicks 5, and I'm not sure you'll see that too many times.
He's like a swingman for them.
Yeah,
he plays back, plays forward. It was good.
Yeah, I thought Charlie Curnow was more improved in what I saw from him.
Yes.
So we'll give them a positive there, but let's break it down. Their last halves are becoming an absolute concern with their scoring inefficiency and inability. This time they've kicked 4 goals to 8 for the Bulldogs.
Well, Michael Voss says they're running out great.
They're not running out.
Better.
They're not.
Okay.
They're definitely not. Well, the numbers suggested. After half-time, I think it's 24 goals to 8, I think, around that margin in the 3 losses so far. There is something missing on that front, and it's the attritional style of the footy they play, and we've seen it, that makes you wonder, they don't have a line breaker. Is it Adam Sard?
Well, is it Zach Williams? No, he's Achilles.
Yeah, he's injured. So, I still think the effort's been there from Carlton, but without dwelling too much on them, I think it was such a meritorious victory for the Bulldogs given the outs that they have. Liam Jones returns, important, just in defence. Your mate, the Lobster, He's got the blue hair, and even on radio, he said to us he's been asked to turn it purple this week when he comes to WA.
He said he couldn't get it out. He tried getting it out. He didn't realise how permanent it was, so it's sort of got a lighter shade of blue.
He's going to shave it to try and minimise it.
Look at that cue stick.
Like a pool cue. Liberatore. Now let's talk about his impact on the game and the club, because he's not one of the high-profile midfielders in the comp, but without him on Friday night, they do not win.
He is playing the best footy he has ever played, Tom Liberatore. He's 32 years old. He's had an ACL. He's had some off-field stuff very early on in his career, but he is, not only does he look to be sort of, like it's a bit cliche, the heart and soul guy and the leader out in the field, but standing up when your two best mids in Treloar and Bontempelli aren't out there. His game last week in a loss, he was almost best on ground. He was best on ground in this one. I just think he's playing the best footy he's ever had. He looks like he's moving along the ground well. He's kicking well, hard in and out. Like, he's always been that guy.
The only issue, I think, the reason that they probably don't have a long-term contract, if he hasn't got one, is he's probably 1 or 2 concussions away from having to bow out. And that's obviously a major concern, but he's not going to change the way he goes about his business. And you're right, without the Bont there, who's still weeks away,
yes.
We need to touch on this. Sam Darcy, we love what he does. Conversely, you and I, and you were obviously strong, and I think we backed you up with this, the lack of output from Aaron Norton on Friday night. We all thought at some stage, do you sub him out? But then on the flip side, he could come up and kick a match-winning goal, which he did do, and we had the timer on him to find something, and to his credit, he did, but he still looks way below his best.
Yeah, he does. Interestingly enough, I saw some footage of Brian Taylor blowing up about this on Triple M. Jack Silvani was stuck on the bench when he kicked that goal, because Jack Silvani was probably the best backman, better than Wiedering. Excuse me. So he kept him to absolutely nothing. And then, I just thought Aaron just looked sluggish. Similar to Oscar Allen in the West Coast game. He looked a pace behind everybody. So I'm sure he'll be dealing with something. They don't just happen for no reason. So he's got something there. Skeeter, I found it. What?
I was just going to say to you, because I know I'm not sure if he's in your fantasy team, but Sam Davidson needs to be just given a quick shout out with his.
He was on the bench, so that was good to see him. He had 125 fantasy points on the bench. No, it means I don't get it. So.
Okay, fair enough. 125
is very good. He's good. Senior recruit running around on the wing in country footy, basically. He looks like he's doing the same thing at AFL level.
Yeah.
Richard B wins the tipping this week, Skeeter, 8 from 8 with a 3-point differential in margin of the Thursday night game. So that's a bloody good effort. Richard, he'll get the carton of shelters. And Skeeter, leading all rounds, is Joshua K. That is right. He's on 20.
Josh K.
Yeah. Oh, no, you know what Josh K does.
There's a Josh K.
No, his last name starts with K.
Oh, sorry, because there's a Josh K that runs 7 Sport in Adelaide. I'm going, geez, he's taking part in the footy tipping.
I am coming 47th.
So 47th. So let me add this up. So
I was in 73rd. I'm moving up.
Yeah, but let me just put this into context. So if tipping stopped now, do you have to fork out $470? $470. This is good. Keep those tips. But don't be stupid about it. Try and push him back into the 50s and below.
Okay, thank you, Skater. Thank you very much. Keep getting your tips in. Do your best. And, I'll be shelling out $10 for every person that beats me. Gold Coast defeat. We're going to whip through these, Skate. Yes. Gold Coast defeat Melbourne by 58 in a bloodbath at the MCG. You can't walk past this, I don't think, because Gold Coast just haven't been able to win away from home. So they've done it twice now at Optus, I know against West Coast, and now Melbourne at MCG. You got to give credit where credit's due. They've done it away from home.
Yeah, absolutely. Melbourne are no good. We'll get to that in a moment. The Gold Coast, you know what? You're ticking off some boxes. Absolutely right. That will set them up to play finals, because when they look at the 2 games in Darwin, they'll be very hard to beat up there. We know how good they are at People First Stadium on the Goldie. You're right. The quality of the opposition, I think, is questionable, but what they did again was outstanding. I think out of all the weekend's matches, Melbourne is the team now that has got some enormous issues they've got to deal with. They kick to take goals. They've got players out of form. Their midfield mix, which is so long regarded as elite, looks like they're just going up and down on the one spot. This is a team in crisis, but again, the Suns kicking 120 points on the MCG. makes you believe that, with Matty Rowell, 36 touches again.
Just remember who I called for the Brownlow at the start of the year. Matt Rowell.
Yeah, well,
he's his second favourite now. He's gone from 50th favourite to second favourite.
He polls, bear in mind, he polls really well. He does poll 3 votes when he polls, which is important. Halfbacks of Noble and Rioli are really good. So, and of course, they're starting to get some players back into the side. We still know that they're going to miss Ballard, but yeah, this lineup, I think,
Their midfield drives it all. Rowell, Anderson, Miller, complete domination, 36 disposals, 35 disposals, absolute dominance.
65 inside 50s. You don't lose too many matches. 65.
That's what I mean. They should have won by 20 goals here.
And I saw a brief, low light, should I say. Bailey Fritsch dropping a mark. They just look kicking a point after regathering possession. Now, the Demons, who
have they got next week?
The Demons...
without knowing, they win next week, Melbourne. What do you reckon?
No, I'm saying no. They're playing Geelong in Geelong. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck to you.
Only better result there would have been they have the bye.
No, they're in, all these happy families. You bought into them. You had them finishing in the 8th this year and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, you did. But this happy, the club's happy. Well, unfortunately, Brad Green, the president at the moment, they've got a lot of it. They're going to have to start.
I also had Gold Coast finishing the final. They
did
clip me too much.
No, the Melbourne demise is one of these. I suppose West Coast. You look at after 18, how it's sort of gone. This Melbourne demise: win 21, win I think the first 10 of 22, then get beaten by the Dockers, then bundled out straight sets. Next year, bundled out straight sets. Missed the finals last year. It's bizarre.
Still making finals.
Who?
They were still making finals.
I get. But I'm saying, that's a fair
like
counterpoint.
Top four.
Yeah,
and
fair
they
counterpoint.
For a couple of games.
But they lost 4 finals in a row. Yeah. So, but they look like they've fallen off the cliff.
That mentally hurts you, and then
yes, you're right.
Physicality comes into it too, and then off-field stuff going on. St Kilda defeat Richmond by 82 points. What a ripper this one was. Jack Sinclair had 40 disposals, 700 metres gained. Thanks very much for coming, Rowan Marshall. Elite ruckman in the competition against a couple of others as well. 23 disposals, 22 hitouts and a goal. 4 goals to Mitch Owens, and I'm not going to review this game because I didn't see it.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, but I'm going to give a shout out to a young West Australian, Lance Collard. 12 touches, 2 goals, 2. Had a really tough time, I understand. Just
assimilating to life in Melbourne.
No, 100%. Melbourne was tough for him. I've spoken to people that know him. And he desperately didn't want to go across. But now whether it was Ross, whether it was a club, I think they would have become like the leading Indigenous sort of club in the AFL, which is admirable from St Kilda's point of view. And after a shaky start, and let's be honest, they've beaten Geelong, which is a pretty good win, I think, even though we're not sure how good Geelong is. They've beaten the Tigers. They've recovered after what we thought was going to be a disastrous start to the year with injuries, etc. So, well done to them. And just go on Lance Collard, yeah, it's terrific. I think Ross Lyon and others at the club have done a great job in making sure that he's fitting into the club and hopefully getting some success on it.
Hawthorne defeat GWS by 12 points at UTAS Stadium. I saw this one. It was a good game. GWS started brilliantly with the win. It looked like about a 6-goal win.
I wasn't watching this, but I'm seeing the score and thinking, what is happening there?
Well, yeah, there was wind, obviously, because then in the second quarter, Hawthorne then did the same to him and was leading at half-time. But then the wind continued in the second half, and Hawthorne were able to really level it up in the third quarter.
When they kick 4-2 against, that's a big moment.
Yeah, and then the sort of last one fizzled out. But it was a really good game. It was really contested footy. Tiny shame that we didn't see probably the 2 best attacking sides get to do it in good conditions.
Under the roof, for instance, at Melb, where it was humid.
Yeah, humidity. But, that was... I was like, gee, this is weird, a night game. That was the second ever night game.
Yeah, it's bizarre that they've actually staged it. Is that got anything to do with... No, it was always in play. It was a Brisbane-Geelong game that was moved, so it's interesting. Was it a good crowd there?
As good as a crowd as you get there.
But imagine... in Melbourne, that would have been...
Yeah, it would have been. I think GWS would have been showing out as well. Yep. Jesse Hogan kicked 4 goals in his first game back, so he was good and good early, but sort of faded late. Jake Stringer didn't get a goal in his first game for the Giants. But yeah, it was only weird because Giants led this game by 35 points at quarter time and then didn't really do much after that. But yeah, it was wind affected. Hawthorne are winning games against good sides without playing their best footy. They played very well against Sydney in opening round. And then since then, I think they've got a lot of improvement behind them, but they're still getting wins. So that's the best possible situation to be in.
Yeah, exactly. A bit like Brisbane, who we'll talk about shortly, but having to do it the tough way. Yeah, this side, I mean, even looking at the different players they've got who can bob up, Watson has that sort of excitement factor about him, and Lloyd Meeks, but still showing up as one of the premier ruckmen in the competition. Yeah, again, this is a Hawthorne side that only upside for them because of what you just mentioned, their best footy's still probably ahead of them.
Their wizard looked very good as well. I liked his game, and Cam McKenzie as well. They've got the bye next week, so they can bank the 4 wins. I'm sure Sam Mitchell would have been coaching for that. All right, let's get our first 4 done, have a break, reset, and go again. Expect them to be better post-bye, which is scary for the competition. Brisbane defeat Geelong by 9 at the Gabba in slippery conditions. Lions go 3-0 off the top of that. It was one of those games. It was scrappy. It was knock-on.
Slippery.
Yeah.
It was a really tough game.
And it was at the same time as the Giants-Hawks, so I didn't see a second of it.
Yeah, I saw a bit more of this because I was sort of invested in it. But they trailed by 32 at one stage,
yes.
Brisbane. You talk about themes and trends. They've been a side, and even going back to the finals last year, and they keep finding ways to win. A bit like Collingwood with those close games. They are giving teams starts. They did it against the Eagles last week. They did it against Geelong this week. They did it against Sydney in round 1.
The lead they're giving up? They're 32 points late in the first half.
Yeah, I said that. 32 points.
Yeah.
No, I know. The 32 points, they are conceding big starts. And what you found in the second half, apart from the fact that obviously it's hot and humid up there, but yeah, they thrived on that, maybe like having the pace setter out in front, and they find a way to reel in opposition sides, and they're better players, obviously. Their midfield with Neil and McCluggage and the likes, Orko kicking the match winner, essentially. Yeah, they've got that belief. Now, whether you can keep doing that, I'm not...
The slippery stuff, they trade in that all the time.
How much advantage is it?
It can be slippery in the middle of summer on the hottest day. The humidity hits there, and so you just imagine, if they're training 3 times a week, one at least is in those conditions, whereas Perth, you're not copping that in summer once. So Geelong, probably would a little bit more, but they would be so used to the ball skidding on to over the back of contests, to knocking it on, just taking ground. The size of that ground's different. So, yeah, it's a massive advantage, and they've had it for a long time, and that's why they're a good side. Adelaide defeat North Melbourne by 36 points at Adelaide Oval. I think North Melbourne's fight was impressive, but Adelaide go 3-0 against the Saints, Dons and North, but they look every bit of very, very good with a 3 to 4 pronged tall attack in front of the footy skate.
Yeah, and Isaac Rankin, who's quickly emerging as one of the better
30,
couple of irons, but he gives them that real spark, doesn't he, out of the centre. And look, you mentioned the big boys in attack. What do they kick?
So
114.
Kicked 3 goals. Walker kicked 4 goals. I don't know what the other lad did.
Fogarty.
Yeah, Foghorn, Leghorn.
Yeah, so, with those 3 in place, I mean, you've got...
Fogarty kicked 2.
Kicked 2, yeah. So you've got the bones of a pretty good side. Ben Keys is a pretty handy sort of weapon up there as well. Lots going right. North Melbourne, Josh Simpkin and co. Good. I think a bit of a question mark over Sheasel and his... I think he had to move to the back line. I didn't see much of this game, probably like you on Sunday because of the derby. We were otherwise engaged. But
they've got a few of those types. So Sheasel, McKercher, now Finn O'Sullivan. They've got kind of that player that behind the footy racks them up. You sort of think, he's too good to play back there. We need to get him in the middle. And then in the middle, it's a bloody tough job. So if you don't have it quite right, you get a bit more inconsistency in there. Sheasel's still a star. McKercher's a very good player, and O'Sullivan's in his first year, 4 games into his 3 games into his career. So, yeah, I think they'll keep trying to find the best mix there. I think positivity from North Melbourne, but Adelaide, I mean, everyone's now got them winning the flag. From what I can say,
no, they haven't. No, you're being a bit of a smart aleck there.
You've
got them probably. I'm just guessing here. Finals. I would say I'd put them. Yeah, I'd put them finals as a. Well, a bit like the Gold Coast. So in the same category as the Gold Coast for mine in terms of what they can do this year. I think get to the 12 wins or 13, whatever you need to play finals, and then work from there. But I do agree. I think they're, you got Hawthorne and the Giants clearly as your 2 leading candidates, and Brisbane.
Yes.
Should I say Brisbane as your 3rd?
Yes.
And outside of that, then they're probably in the mix.
Their next 5, so they sit second on the ladder with 164 percentage. So
percentage isn't worth another game.
Yeah. So they got Gold Coast next week.
Big game up in the Goldie.
Geelong in Adelaide.
Should be winning.
GWS in Adelaide.
Yes, 50-50.
Freo here, big game.
Winnable.
And Carlton at home. So you'd think they win 3-4 of those.
Yeah, it sets up their season, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And the buys to Collingwood and Sydney, Skeeter. Very, very good. Shelter Brewing Co. beer fresh from the Busselton foreshore. Some questions and comments from our fans on YouTube, usually doing the good work over there. Just chuck a comment below and we'll get to those as we can. Or you can send us an email, footycast@backchatstudios.com.au. Glad to see Skeet is sticking with his. Let's be honest, I haven't heard Scully say for mine for a bit now from Bond's one of the ones that just pull us up when we need to be, Skeeter. Let's be honest, I think is yours. And mine is for mine, I don't think Adelaide are very good. Whatever it is.
You know what?
You say, let's be honest.
Let's be honest. I don't actually know that I say it. No, I actually don't, and you probably don't either. And most people don't.
I like it. I like it from Bond. Keep us in check.
Yeah, let us know. And any time we can change things up and not repeat ourselves would be nice. No, it's good. We appreciate it.
We don't know what we're saying. I don't listen to Skeet.
Yeah, listen. Let's go back to Essendon Port Adelaide, shall we?
We missed a game. How good would it be to have a Western Derby on the WA Day long weekend from Salisbury?
Yeah.
When is that?
It's in early June.
Right.
So on that basis,
that would be good.
Yeah, I mean, in that sense, I suppose it's probably no different to the King's Birthday holiday match, but Monday match between Melbourne and Collingwood, which is a working day for us, but you have a public holiday on a Monday here. And have it beamed live into the East Coast. If you have it at, say, 3 in the afternoon and have it a Monday night game, yeah, possibly. If it happened, I'd say, yep, yippee. If not, I go, well, no skin off my nose.
In similar terms, a Friday derby would be so good, especially if it was close. I want another 4 games at Optus in one final series. 2015 was peak WA football because we had the qualifyings, the prelims, both teams in it.
Yeah, look, the only way we'll have a derby Friday night match is like we do when we have a couple of double headers, like, for instance, Good Friday, North Melbourne, Carlton are playing, and then North Melbourne, Carlton, and West Coast are playing Essendon on Good Friday. So I think a derby would be a Fox game, which would be picked up locally, but not a standalone Friday game, if you know what I mean.
Yes. This is a bit of compliments to you and I. We may as well read one for the year.
Yeah, you might get a ton of dusted around in April or March.
Sotrios Novartis on YouTube. Is that Greek? Is it scared?
Is that a person's name?
Can you say this? Sotorios? Can you? You're this one here.
Yeah.
How say it for me?
I'd say Sotorios. Novatsis.
Accent that comes.
I should get accent. Yeah. You wait till I have a couple of shelters, it gets even worse.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You two really have the best chemistry of anyone in sports analysis.
Oh, you're kidding yourself. I love it, but you're absolutely miles off the mark, isn't he?
And Scully, I really hope the Eagles fans give the finger at the 9 minute mark. They did, even though Skeeter didn't want to cover it, and the rest of the old people. And also, if the Rising Star nomination is affected by trying to make the Northern States academies look better, then that is outright corruption. That is off the back of Tyrell Dewar not getting that in the second round. Sadly, the AFL, any accusations of corruption are more likely to be true than false. I'll say allegedly. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but thank you, Sartorius. There we go, Skate. That is from our fans. You and I are finishing up. I think I was pretty strong off the top. I was pretty happy with that.
You were very good. You were very good. And
anything for it to finish us off?
No, I'm going to hold. It's some breaking news that's coming through.
Oh yeah. No, let's finish with that because I know what it is.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't got that.
It's confirmed.
You have got it
confirmed.
Okay. Yep. So I think it's you've got the information. I heard about it last night. But if you've got that information,
yeah. So sadly, we will finish on a sad note, and it's been reported over here in Perth that Andrew Cracker has passed away to a heart attack overnight. I believe here in Perth. That is, of course, Swan Districts. He played his games here in the Waffle, played in Collingwood, premiership player for Collingwood.
He played in the 2010
Grand Final.
2010 Grand Final for Swans.
Yep.
And kicked the winning goal in a dramatic...
it was one of the greatest games. So I was watching Ryan Davis, my good mate, playing in that game. Andrew Cracker's game in that Waffle Grand Final is one of the greatest games I've ever seen from a player, let alone in a Grand Final. I heard it on the radio this morning. They said, not this reflects it, I don't know exactly his stats, but he had 90 Supercoach points in that quarter, which is like, it'll take me 3 games to get that. He was unbelievable, a player, and incredibly sad for his family and friends to his passing. But if we can be positive, the impact he had on Swan Districts and then getting drafted to Collingwood and having an impact at that football club as well, will be sorely missed.
Yeah, look, born in 1983 in February, so such a young man.
42 years old.
42. It's just, so sad for his family. And he'd done some media work, and I had mentioned to our producer at the WAFL that he might be a guy worth using this year, but you mentioned him, 102 games at Richmond, 32 at Swans, but we talked about the brilliance of the grand final, won a Sandover medal, a Simpson medal as well, went to Collingwood, resurrecting his career. Eddie was so instrumental in that, playing 35 games after he was incarcerated. So there was some great moments, some tough moments for him, and just way too soon. And our thoughts go out to his family primarily, his friends, and I'm sure Swan Districts and Collingwood this weekend will have some tribute to him in some form. But a bit of a sombre way to start the week.
Yep. Rest in peace, Andrew Cracker.